What's up, family? Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we go from struggle to flow. What comes to your mind when you think of the word maturity? Usually we correlate maturity with the idea of adulthood, getting older, coming of age in a sense, growth in general. We physically mature at first, but our mental states all mature at their own pace. They say young girls mature faster than the boys. And even as girls become women and age, I think women and their pace of understanding of the world tends to outpace that of boys turning into men. The measure of consequences, the seriousness of pursuit, the way to carry themselves, I've seen these things be more durable in women than men as a general observation. It's one of the reasons that the dropout rates of men from colleges is much higher than women. A higher percentage of men have a personality trait of disagreeableness than women do. Women tend to be more agreeable than men. And it's probably only a standard deviation of difference. There isn't vast differences between the genders, but on the extreme ends, men tend to occupy most edges of this trait of disagreeableness, which gets men into a lot of trouble. It's why most of the prisons are filled with men on the edge of that measure of disagreeableness that tends to manifest all the issues where it's rebelliousness and even violent nature. So how does this all relate back to maturity? The way that I like to think about maturity is more nuanced than the plain definition of the word. Of course, we all mature, and we are absolutely more mature than we were 5 years ago or 10 years ago, at least hopefully. Life has a way of humbling you and nudging you out of your delusions about how the world operates. When faced with the reality, we automatically broaden and add depth to our understanding of how things actually are and how they are so different than what we originally imagined them to be. That is maturity. But still, the maturity that matters shows up in minute-to-minute decisions. And that's what I couldn't help but think about. Real maturity to me is how much all the experiences has actually ingrained into your worldview and then how you operate in it. And then shows up in how the decisions, the day-to-day decisions you are required to make, but then also the ones that show up within minutes and sometimes split seconds. The calculation of consequences, the taking in of available information to form your knee-jerk reactions, that level of maturity takes years to get to. I think because enough things have to break you before you are remade into a different, less childlike, less reckless, less imprudent, less careless, and thoughtless self. And all these words are the antithesis of a mature person, the antonyms, the opposite of what a mature person does. And it takes years, hopefully not, but it can take years to attune to the reality of what to be prudent about, what to be careful of, what considerations to be thoughtful on. For me, as someone who can have a short fuse when disrespected, my anger has gotten me into a lot of trouble in my life. Sometimes to the extent where the contrast is hard to tolerate and hard to justify. In all other sense of maturity, a day prior to those minutes, I could be sitting on my desk, working for hours, focused on the future, planning and deliberating and trying to build towards a better world to live in. In the next moment, the next day, I could find myself in a really bad position because of my inability or unwillingness to tolerate disrespect, or something else less justifiable that triggers my anger. And in that anger, in a split second, I can destroy all the efforts of all the maturity I bring to every other day and moment. All the work I'm doing sitting at my desk can be washed over by the split-second decision I can make that gets me into a bind. No matter how much responsibility I have taken in my life early, no matter how much I would seem mature to someone from the outside looking in all the regular moments, those split-second lack of tuning to my maturity has more of an outsized effect than anything else that could be seen from the outside. And if you are a disagreeable man, prone to anger, you too have found yourself in bad situations because of your anger. Those situations that can override all the good work you are working towards in life. And unfortunately, it has taken a lot of work for me, a lot of risky situations, a lot of near-death scenarios, just to add a smidgen of maturity, just to add a slight bit of tuning or thought of consequences when in those moments. The split-second reaction, what would make me angry, has definitely gotten better, but it is nowhere near the vast, observable difference in maturity that shows up in my day-to-day conscious life. Because that split second is almost subconscious, something that has been ingrained for a long time that you are maybe not even aware of, almost an automatic process. And again, it takes a long time just to get a few seconds right. All of your maturity cannot matter in a minute. And all your maturity is what builds up in how you behave in a minute, in that minute. It can take you a lifetime to attune to what is appropriate for you to respond with in those seconds, taking into account all future versions of you that have to live with the impulsive decisions you are about to make. Hopefully, though, you don't have to learn this the hard way, and hopefully it doesn't take you years to learn how to manage those moments. Hopefully, all your maturity isn't earned by huge mistakes. Love you, family. Stay true always. I'll see you on the next show.